You are listening to Sands of Time, Fate of the True Vampires by Christine Church, Book 1, Installment 1. Narrated by Christine Church. About this book. The following journal entries, scrolls, and letters have been found and collected by various societies around the world. Many, through diligent care in the hands of experts, had to be reconstructed as they had crumbled, whether by age, weather, or disaster. Others, though ancient, were well preserved before being carbon dated and translated by the finest anthropological experts and linguists from the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and other organizations dedicated to the preservation of culture and history. The first of these recordings dates back to ancient Egypt and appears to be a journal of sorts, written on papyrus. Curiously, most of the writings are in a form of Sumerian, rather than the stereotypical hieroglyphs many attribute to ancient Egypt. Though it was unusual for ancient Egyptians to record much beyond the state of government, religion, and historical data, some personal documents were kept, particularly among the wealthy. It took many years and collaborations, but all these writings have been linked to one another by using names, dates, and locales to determine their relationships. As these accounts came together, a story began to unravel, and for the first time ever, the translated writings are in the process of being placed into order, then published, so the public may read and decipher the many mysteries within. This book is the first installment of preserved documents, but not the last by any means. More have been discovered since the unearthing of these documents took place. The additional writings will become available as soon as they are translated and released. Many fill gaps in the existing story, and others add on to it. Note: Pet Mer is loosely translated as Sky Friends, as believed to be the case. Queen of the Nile. Entries found on papyrus sealed and preserved within a tomb in Egypt. Circa 20th Dynasty. English translation 1958. Believed to be written by Kesi, who lived in a village near Giza and is later known as Kesi Achid. Wind over the desert creates a sandstorm that has left all in ruin. The days of old, eras long past. Will he believe that I existed long ago and was dubbed the Nile's graceful queen by pharaohs and kings? Will he believe that to Amenhotep I in the 18th dynasty I was viewed as an exquisite work of art? I pray now, not to the gods the desert people bow to, but to my ancestors and my family. I pray that he will understand what it is I must tell him, who I am, where I come from, and where I must go. I think about the time that has passed so quickly. My heart swells with love for my family, for the desert so cruel yet forgiving, the people, and most of all for Jabari. Life was once simple, yet elegant, and my people worshipped. When I was young, I heard say that all of the gods had blessed me with a part of themselves, the grace of Bast, the eyes of Horus, the wisdom of Thoth, and even the cruelties of Seth made me who I am. Perhaps this is true still, and yet I remain as I always have, and life around me continues to weave its gradual yet inevitable web anew. Now the sands of the Sahara have drifted, propelling the destiny of the Pet Mer in a new direction, forcing me to choose, to make the most difficult decision of my life, a decision on which I have procrastinated for too long, a decision I know I must make on this night, and so I prepare my journey with a questionable destination. Entry 1. Tonight the desert was cruel and armed with its own weapons, as the sharp winds howled, whistling past Khufu's grand pyramid and whipping sand into my face, making concentration difficult. I could smell it in the air. Even the fresh scent of evening was not the same. Shomu had only begun. The inundation waned, harvest well on its way when the news had come to me, and the decision sat uncomfortably upon my shoulders. Father and our people would leave this place forever, removing all family and connection to blood ties. The land and desert would be empty, cold, and desolate, as it had been thousands of years before, when my relatives had first arrived. Without the winsomeness, grace, and eccentricities my people laid here, there will be only dust and wind, and life for the desert people will go on as fate meant it. But what did it matter? For the gods that had once taken physical form were no longer revered. A new era had dawned, a fearful era, and mankind now shunned those they once worshipped. Fleeing is the only way to avoid persecution and eventual starvation. But for me, it is not so simple. The decision to run, not as easily made. For me, there is a divide in the road ahead, and I am chained to a chariot that races down each one. Tethered by honor and family is the desire to leave and start anew, yet bound to this place by way of tradition and birth, and by way of heart in the form of a sweet and wonderful man. I hugged my linen shawl more tightly around my shoulders and moved to the eastern wall of the pyramid, where the massive triangular structure could form a better shield against the harsh wind. I leaned against the smooth limestone that, even after all the withering years, still shone like silver in the light of the full moon, as if the power of Ra kept the sun harnessed within its rocks. Ah, to witness the miracle of the sun, just once to walk beneath its great rays, to feel its warmth on my flesh. Humans, how they complain so of the heat, and all I do is wish. Perhaps, I ponder, elsewhere there exists a sun, a light, that will not kill, but not here, never here. And within that hand I hold my desire to leave, to be with my father and the others of my family, to travel to a fresh land and start anew, to erase mistakes of the past. But within the other, I sigh and follow the pyramid's eye to the stars. One of them, somewhere out there. Ah, how could I leave? Even on the harshest, coldest evenings, when the fierce winds lift the sands and storms ravage the villages, threatening to reclaim them to the desert, even when my people remain hidden in the bowels of the pyramid to avoid persecution, and when the inundations are poor and famine common, do I still love this place, the only home I have ever known. And Jabari, my love, my future husband, how could I even imagine leaving him behind? But I wonder, will he understand my explanation? I chose this night to reveal the complete truth to him, inform him of my decision. But I worry once he knows the truth, will he then bless my departure? So many questions ravage my mind, I am consumed by them. Should I stay? Is it right to leave? Were all in such turmoil, those who were indigenous to this place? I did not hear his approach. You are deep in thought. The voice startled me. So lost in reverie, I had not sensed a presence. I straightened quickly and turned. He emerged from the darkest shadows, argent moonlight dancing upon shoulder-length blonde hair braided with silver strands. Like a deluge in the driest desert, he stood out amongst these dark-haired people, his green eyes gleaming like that of a majestic feline. From him I received only the pale complexion. "Father," I smiled, "your ability to startle me has not waned in 500 years. One would think in all this time I would learn to sense you." I leaned to him and kissed his cheek. His face felt cool. He had recently awakened and bathed. The scent of lotus petals, however subtle, clung to his flesh and the loose white robes that fell to his feet. "Your mind is preoccupied," he said with his usual stoic grace. "This decision is more than you can bear at times, I know, and I am truly sorry to have placed the weight of it upon your shoulders. But you know well why we must leave this place." "Yes." "You worry about Jabari and the effect of this on him." How precisely he knew my every thought. Whether or not my decision keeps me at his side or sends me into the stars, I must tell him from whom I descend, from whence my people came. But how does one bring up such an unbelievable truth? I paused, and for a moment a thought on my mind. How did Mother accept it? My father's thin, pale lips curled into a small smile. "In the days when I met your mother," he began, "life was very different here. We were protected by the Pharaoh, and our existence was revered by those who knew of us, kept secret from those who did not. The rumors your mother had heard of us were in admiration, not in fear as the rumors of today." "And if he fears me? Father, I love him so very much. I know not what I would do should he shun me." My father, whom the locals called Sefu, took my hand. "His love for you shall overwhelm doubt and beget acceptance, just as your mother's did for me so long ago." He sighed then and looked at me thoughtfully. "And if it does not, then you have your answer."